Hello, and welcome to my Pokemon Horizons episode 11 review. So this episode has Liko, Roy, and Molly go to a forest that Brassius told them about, but it starts with Liko confronting Dot, which Dot assumes she's figured out she's Nidothing, but Liko thinks that Dot is just a Nidothing superfan, which is kind of funny to see Liko's dumb side like that. Molly also has a call from her family and says she's not coming back anytime soon, which kind of hints that this episode is going to feature some backstory from her, as she also decides to go out with the kids as it looks like the forest has been burnt. So yeah, they arrive at the forest where Nemona had guided them, and ask that next time they meet for a battle with Roy. I like that they seem to be pushing Roy in a direction about having become more of a battler, obviously going up against Brassius and now having a champion challenge him. As the forest has been destroyed, there's no Pokemon, and Roy splits up from a group to take a look. This worries Liko, and Molly makes a comment about how she's surrounded by Warriors. We get a really fun cut to Murdoch and Free kind of in a ship worrying, and Ola plays it off that they worry too much and that kids are just enjoying adventures. It's really cute to see Rising Volt Tacklers just feeling like a family unit, which I feel like also ties into Molly having a call from her biological family earlier. Oh, also, Free trying to get in contact with a woman called Luca from the seams of it, which, I mean, we might have seen in a preview, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see. As they have a quiet moment, Molly and Liko kind of open up to each other, as Molly asks about Liko's parents and asks if she takes after either of them, and that Liko doesn't have to worry about not knowing what she wants to do at her age. Molly did have her life set out for her as she was from a family of doctors, even though she likes Pokemon and her work. She had left that. We also get to see Liko thinking about the fact that she had never seen Molly really enter a Pokemon Center either. So yeah, it's probably more likely that Molly is related to Nurse Joy's, as she has similarities to them, like the same VA, the same hair color, etc. Roy, meanwhile, sees this really weird tree and is climbing it, and he sees an ancient Pokemon that begins shaking. Liko runs off to explore and finds a wounded Paldean and Wooper, and she can't really help it, some other Pokemon come and take it from her, so she pursues him to the weird tree. Molly got worried and decides to head up to meet that point they'd agreed on, where Liko has arrived and starts helping Wooper. She then tells Liko she had left the Pokemon Center because she can help Pokemon that suffer out in the wild that may not otherwise receive help, which is a pretty noble cause. The weird tree then awakens and it's a huge Arboliva that shakes Roy off. It's now up to Liko and Roy to fight it to give Molly time to heal Wooper. They're doing pretty good. Liko and Sprigatito are able to dart around with quick attacks to distract it. She also tells Roy to not use Ember because it could cause another fire. So Roy thinks about what he could do and recalls what Brassius had told him about watching his Pokemon, and is able to fire off a stomping tantrum that eventually, after some battling, managed to bring it down. Arboliva does not seem to be done fighting though, but as Wooper had been healed, it runs over and calls off a fight. Arboliva seemed like they meant no harm this, Liko and Roy above the forest to show the extent of the damage, and the episode ends. So this isn't my favourite Horizons episode, but it was still a really good time. I feel like the main attraction here is learning more about Molly and what makes her tick, and it does that really well. I think to some extent that also leads into Liko not really being sure what she wants to do and might lead her into thinking more about that because of her discussion with Molly. I'm sure she's going to start thinking about that a lot more, especially given the fact that she's just kind of supporting Roy's dream, which is why they're even in the Saurus to begin with. And it does feel like a pretty crazy twist to me that there's another ancient Pokeball. I'm quite eager to see what that's about, if there's anything in it and how it connects to one in Kanto, as that was in a wholly different region. So yeah, this is a good little episode, no complaints from me.